Under the blazing sun of the Okavango Delta, Renoka and Lekan roamed their vast territory, their golden coats blending with the dry grass. The delta was their home, a kingdom teeming with life during the rainy season, but harsh and unyielding during the drought. The rivers had shrunk, leaving behind small pockets of water that attracted herds of elephants, buffalo, and zebra. These were the lifelines of the predators that ruled the land, and for Renoka and Lekan, every resource was precious. Renoka, the larger of the two brothers, moved with a confidence that came from years of dominance. His stature alone commanded respect, not only from his pride, but from any rival lion who dared to challenge him. Lekan, slightly smaller yet equally fierce, stayed close by, always watchful, his bond with Renoka unshakable. Together they were the protectors of the Zakanka Pride, a coalition built on their strength and leadership. The Pride was thriving, with lionesses skilled in the hunt and cubs that carried the promise of the next generation. Yet despite their dominance, the signs of the dry season were everywhere. The once abundant herds were thinning, and the competition for food was intensifying. Prey had begun migrating to wetter areas, leaving the Pride with dwindling options. Renoka and Lekan understood the gravity of the situation. The survival of their pride depended on their ability to adapt to these harsh changes. Each evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the brothers patrolled their territory, their eyes scanning for any sign of prey or rivals. The nights were quieter now, with fewer roars echoing across the plains. It was a silence that carried the weight of an uncertain future. As the drought tightened its grip on the delta, the usual prey became scarce, and the Zakanka Pride faced a dire challenge. The buffalo herds that once dotted the landscape had vanished, driven to distant watering holes. Zebras and wildebeest had followed, leaving only the occasional warthog or smaller game, barely enough to sustain a pride of their size. Hunger loomed over the Pride, and the lionesses, though adept hunters, returned empty-pawed more often than not. Renoka and Lekan, keen observers of the land and its rhythms, knew the time had come for a drastic shift. The survival of the Pride demanded a bold move, something that had rarely been attempted by lions before. Far in the distance, they spotted the hulking shapes of elephants congregating around the last remaining pools of water. These giants were powerful, intimidating, and dangerous, but they were also a potential solution to the Pride's hunger. Renoka, with his piercing gaze fixed on the horizon, felt the weight of the decision. The Pride had never hunted elephants before, but their sheer size meant sustenance for days. Lekan, sensing his brother's resolve, let out a low growl of agreement. The brothers knew the risk, yet they also understood the necessity. It was time to test their courage and lead their Pride into uncharted territory. The Pride gathered under the sparse shade of a tree, their ribs beginning to show the toll of scarce food. The lionesses exchanged uncertain glances, their instincts warning against the peril of the task ahead. Hunting elephants was unheard of for most lions, too dangerous, too unpredictable. Even the largest predators knew to respect the sheer strength of these massive creatures. One of the older lionesses let out a low, uneasy growl, a signal of her reluctance. She had seen the devastating power of an elephant's charge and knew what a single misstep could cost. The cubs, growing weaker by the day, were oblivious to the gravity of the situation, playfully pawing at their mothers, but their dwindling energy was a harsh reminder of what was at stake. Hello guys, if you like our stories and haven't subscribed yet, support our work and subscribe to the channel to help us. Even Lekan hesitated briefly, his ears twitching as he studied the herd in the distance. Renoka, though resolute, understood their fear. The path ahead was fraught with danger, and the cost of failure could be catastrophic, not just for the Pride, but for the legacy they sought to protect. As the tension within the Pride grew, Renoka stepped forward, his commanding presence impossible to ignore. His deep, rumbling growl silenced the murmurs of doubt among the lionesses. He stood tall, his golden mane catching the dimming light of the setting sun, a symbol of the strength and leadership that had carried the Pride through countless challenges. Renoka was not just a leader, he was a mentor, the one who set the example for the Pride to follow. Lekan watched his brother closely, absorbing every move and decision. Though fierce in his own right, he had always relied on Renoka's unwavering confidence and strategic mind. Renoka's ability to remain calm under pressure and find solutions in the face of adversity had been their guide since they were young cubs navigating the dangers of the Delta together. Renoka moved deliberately toward the lionesses, his gaze steady but not harsh. He let out a series of deep, resonant growls, a language of leadership that conveyed both reassurance and command. The message was clear: they would not only survive, but thrive. The path ahead was dangerous, yes, but hesitation meant death. Together they would face the challenge, and together they would overcome it. His resolve inspired Lekan, who stepped forward to stand by his brother's side, echoing his silent confidence. Slowly the lionesses began to rise, their doubt replaced by a shared sense of purpose. Under Renoka's leadership, the pride would unite, ready to confront the impossible. The air was heavy with tension as the pride moved through the dry grass, their movements silent and deliberate. Renoka led the way, his massive frame cutting a path through the savannah as Lekan followed closely, his ears alert to every sound. The lionesses flanked them, their eyes fixed on the herd of elephants in the distance. This was a hunt unlike any they had undertaken, a step into uncharted territory that could determine the pride's survival. The elephants were gathered near a shrinking pool of water, their towering forms casting long shadows in the fading light. Renoka paused, his keen eyes studying their movements. He identified a young elephant that had strayed slightly from the herd, a potential target. It was smaller than the adults, but still formidable, a challenge that required precision and coordination. Renoka let out a low growl, signaling the lionesses to spread out. They moved like shadows, their bodies low, to the ground, encircling the young elephant while staying hidden from the larger adults. Lekan crouched beside his brother, prepared for the moment to strike. As the lionesses lunged, the young elephant trumpeted in alarm, its powerful legs thrashing in defense. The ground shook as the adults turned, their massive bodies charging toward the attackers. Renoka roared, leaping into action to distract the adults while the lionesses focused on their target. Lekan joined him, their combined strength and strategy buying the pride precious time. After a harrowing struggle, the young elephant fell, its cries silenced. The pride feasted, their hunger temporarily sated. Yet, as the echoes of the hunt faded, they knew this victory was only the beginning. The line had been crossed, and there was no turning back. Survival now depended on mastering this perilous new strategy. The first victory against the young elephant brought a fleeting sense of relief to the pride, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter filled with relentless challenges. The Zakanka pride had ventured into dangerous territory, and each hunt was a test of their strength, strategy, and resilience. As the days passed, the pride grew more adept at targeting isolated or vulnerable elephants. Renoka and Lekan refined their tactics, guiding the lionesses in coordinated attacks that minimized risk. The lionesses, emboldened by their leaders, demonstrated remarkable skill and bravery, using the cover of night to ambush their prey. The cubs, though still too young to join the hunts, watched with wide eyes as their parents returned, bringing the sustenance that kept the pride alive. But the success was not without cost. The elephants, intelligent and perceptive, quickly adapted to the threat. They began to travel in tighter formations, protecting their young in the center and forming defensive circles whenever danger loomed. This forced the pride to take greater risks, and with each hunt the stakes grew higher. The drought continued to tighten its grip on the delta, and rival predators were drawn to the remaining watering holes. Hyenas, ever opportunistic, lingered at the edges of the pride's kills, waiting for a chance to steal a meal. Renoka and Lekan had to defend their hard-won prey from these scavengers, often engaging in ferocious battles that left them battered, but victorious. The pride also faced threats from within their own kind. A coalition of nomadic lions, lean and hungry, began to encroach on their territory. Renoka and Lekan, ever vigilant, patrolled the borders tirelessly, their roars echoing through the savannah as warnings to would-be challengers. One night, the nomads tested their strength, and the resulting clash left the intruders bloodied and retreating. The pride's territory remained secure, but the cost of constant vigilance weighed heavily on the brothers. Amid these trials, the pride found unexpected allies in the form of the environment itself. The delta's natural barriers, thickets, of thorny acacia and deep, treacherous channels, provided protection and aided in ambushes. Renoka and Lekan leveraged their intimate knowledge of the land to their advantage, turning the delta's harshness into a shield against enemies. Despite the victories, the pride remained acutely aware of the mounting pressure. Each test hardened them, but it also reminded them of the fragile balance they walked. The Zakanka pride was surviving, but the line between survival and collapse had never been thinner. As the drought persisted, the challenges intensified, and the pride was forced to confront the harsh reality of their existence. The elephant herds, once their lifeline, had begun migrating farther in search of water. The prey that had sustained them was disappearing, leaving the Zakanka pride on the brink of starvation. The lionesses struggled to find food for the cubs, and the once playful young began to weaken, their playful energy now a distant memory. Renoka and Lekan, ever watchful, understood that their survival required more than brute force. They needed to adapt once again, to find new opportunities amidst the ever-changing landscape of the delta. Each day, they led the pride deeper into unexplored territories, following the faint traces of prey and the elusive promise of water. The delta's beauty, even in its diminished state, hid dangers at every turn. Unforgiving terrain, rival predators, and the ever-present threat of elephants. One afternoon, as the pride rested in the shade of a lone baobab, the distant sound of trumpeting elephants reached their ears. Renoka and Lekan exchanged a glance, their instincts sharpened by the tension of survival. They knew the pride could not afford to ignore this opportunity. Despite their weakened state, they began to prepare for another hunt, one that could determine the fate of their family. As they approached the herd, the scene was ominous. The elephants, wary from previous encounters, had become more aggressive and defensive. The adults formed a tight circle around their young, their tusks gleaming under the scorching sun. It was clear that any misstep could be fatal, but Renoka and Lekan had no choice. Desperation pushed them forward, their resolve hardening with each step. The pride moved as one, their bodies low and their eyes locked on the massive creatures ahead. The air was thick with tension, and every moment felt stretched to eternity. Renoka let out a deep growl, signaling the beginning of their approach. The caverna occulta, an unavoidable confrontation with danger and sacrifice, loomed before them. For the Zakanka pride, there was no turning back. The tension in the air was palpable as the pride advanced toward the herd. This hunt would be, unlike any they had faced before, a battle not just for food, but for the survival of their legacy. Renoka and Lekan led the charge, their massive frames moving with a deadly grace honed by years of dominance. The lionesses flanked them, their eyes sharp and bodies taut with anticipation. The stakes had never been higher. The elephants, sensing the imminent threat, formed a formidable defensive circle. Their trunks swung like whips and their tusks glinted menacingly in the harsh sunlight. The young calves were hidden in the center, shielded by the towering adults. It was a display of unity and strength that would deter most predators, but the Zakanka pride had no choice but to push forward. Renoka let out a thunderous roar, the sound cutting through the air like a battle cry. It was the signal to strike. The lionesses surged forward, targeting the edges of the herd to create a distraction. The elephants responded with fierce determination, trumpeting loudly and charging at their attackers. Dust rose into the air, obscuring the chaotic scene as the pride fought to isolate a young elephant. The battle was brutal. Renoka and Lekan darted between the massive legs of the adults, their sharp claws finding purchase in the thick hides of their adversaries. A lioness narrowly avoided a deadly kick, the force of the blow leaving a crater in the dry earth. Another lioness latched onto the back of the target calf, her teeth sinking into its flesh as it struggled to escape. The pride worked as a unit, their coordination a testament to their bond and survival instincts. But the elephants were relentless. In the chaos, a lioness was struck by a powerful trunk, sending her sprawling to the ground. She struggled to rise, her body trembling with pain, but the pride pressed on. Lekan, with his boundless courage, charged headlong at one of the larger elephants, drawing its attention and allowing the lionesses to focus on the calf. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the young elephant fell. Its cries echoed briefly before being silenced by the pride. The lions, exhausted and battered, began to feed, yet their victory was bittersweet. The loss of a lioness weighed heavily on them, a grim reminder of the cost of survival. Renoka stood over the fallen elephant, his golden coat streaked with blood and dust. His eyes, filled with resolve and weariness, scanned the horizon. This was their supreme trial, a testament to their strength and unity. Yet, even in triumph, the question lingered. How much longer could they endure this relentless fight for survival? The pride feasted under the fading light of the setting sun, their bodies re-energized by the spoils of their harrowing victory. The meat of the fallen elephant provided a reprieve from the gnawing hunger that had plagued them for weeks. The cubs, once weak and lethargic, now fed eagerly, their strength beginning to return with each bite. The lionesses, though bruised and battered, allowed themselves a rare moment of calm, their instincts momentarily quelled by the sense of security. Renoka and Lekan stood apart from the group, their forms silhouetted against the horizon. They watched over their pride, their sharp eyes scanning for any sign of danger. The reward was not just the meal. It was the temporary stability it provided, a chance to regroup and recover. For a fleeting moment, the relentless pressure eased, and the bonds within the pride grew stronger. Yet, even as the pride rested, Renoka's mind remained restless. The victory had come at a cost, a fallen lioness and the ever-present risk of retaliation from the elephants. The reward of sustenance was vital, but it was bittersweet. Renoka knew that this fragile peace was only temporary, and the challenges ahead would require every ounce of their strength and unity. The days following the hunt were marked by a rare sense of stability. The pride remained near the carcass, their hunger finally sated, allowing them to conserve energy and recover from the brutal ordeal. The cubs, their bellies full for the first time in weeks, returned to playful scuffles, their youthful vitality slowly returning. The lionesses, though still carrying the scars of battle, took turns resting and keeping watch, their bond strengthened by the trials they had endured. Renoka and Lekan resumed their patrols, ensuring the pride's territory remained secure. The delta was quiet, its usual vibrancy muted by the ongoing drought. The herds of prey that once moved through the land were still sparse, leaving the brothers vigilant for any opportunity or threat. Their roars echoed across the plains, a declaration of their dominance to rivals and a reminder of their resilience. But the temporary calm belied the challenges that lay ahead. As the rains returned to distant parts of the delta, whispers of rival prides moving closer reached Renoka and Lekan. The lush lands promised by the returning water would attract not only prey, but also competitors. The brothers understood that the peace they now enjoyed was fleeting. The pride began to move again, drawn by the promise of better hunting grounds. Each step across the dry savanna carried the weight of uncertainty, but also a renewed determination. For Renoka and Lekan, the path ahead was clear. They would lead their pride toward survival, no matter what dangers awaited in the shadows. The peace the Zakanka pride had briefly enjoyed was shattered when the winds carried a scent unfamiliar yet unmistakable. Rival lions were near. Renoka and Lekan, seasoned protectors of their pride, knew what this meant. Their territory, now regaining life with the slow return of rains, had become a coveted prize. The brothers prepared for what would likely be their greatest challenge yet. The rivals revealed themselves at dawn, 3 young male lions in their prime, muscular and brimming with confidence. Behind them were 4 lionesses, likely drawn by the promise of stronger protectors and abundant territory. Renoka and Lekan observed from a distance, their once fiery golden coats now showing the pale signs of age. Yet their eyes burned with the same determination that had carried them through countless battles. That evening, as the rival coalition approached the pride's core territory, Renoka let out a deafening roar. It echoed through the delta, a warning and a challenge. Lekan stood by his side, his posture tense but ready. The lionesses, protective of their cubs, retreated to safety, leaving the brothers to face the invaders alone. The air was thick with tension as the rivals closed in, their growls low and menacing. The battle erupted in a flurry of claws and roars, a clash of titans under the fading light of the sun. Renoka, despite his age, fought with a ferocity that stunned even the younger lions. His massive frame and experience gave him an edge, and for a time he held his ground against two of the rivals. Lekan faced the third with equal courage, his attacks swift and precise. Dust rose around them, obscuring the chaotic struggle. But the years had taken their toll. Renoka, though powerful, began to slow. A deep gash opened along his side, blood matting his golden fur. Lekan, seeing his brother falter, lunged at one of the rivals, attacking Renoka, buying him a moment's reprieve. Together, the brothers pushed back, their teamwork honed over years of survival. Yet the odds were overwhelming. As the battle raged on, Lekan fell to a powerful blow, his body collapsing under the weight of his injuries. Renoka roared in anguish, a sound that seemed to shake the earth itself. With a final burst of strength, he threw himself into the fray, his claws striking true, driving back the remaining rivals. But it was too late. The injuries he had sustained were too severe. As the rival lions retreated, battered and bloodied, Renoka staggered to where Lekan lay. He nuzzled his fallen brother gently, a quiet moment amidst the chaos. With his body broken but his spirit unyielding, Renoka collapsed beside Lekan, his eyes scanning the horizon one last time. His final breaths were taken under the vast sky of the Delta, surrounded by the land he had fought so fiercely to protect. The Zakanka pride had lost its kings, but their legacy endured. Their bravery and sacrifice had secured the pride's survival, and their story would be etched into the annals of the Delta's history, a testament to the resilience and indomitable spirit of true leaders. The Delta was quiet in the days following the battle. The lionesses, though mourning the loss of their kings, stood resolute. Renoka and Lekan's sacrifice had not been in vain. The rival lions had retreated, leaving the Zakanka pride's territory intact. The cubs, now stronger and more resilient, carried within them the legacy of their fathers, a lineage forged in strength, courage, and survival. As the rains returned, the Delta began to bloom once more, its rivers swelling and life returning to the plains. The pride, led now by the seasoned lionesses, adapted to the new world without their kings. Renoka and Lekan's story became a silent lesson, a reminder of the strength that lies in unity and the cost of leadership. Their spirits seemed to linger in the wind, their roars echoing in the hearts of their descendants. The elixir they left behind was not just survival, but an enduring legacy of hope, courage, and the will to endure. Hello guys, if you like our stories and haven't subscribed yet, support our work and subscribe to the channel to help us.